Okay, my friends, welcome back to more from Final Fantasy Rebirth as you watch Odin deliver Zantetsuken and end my final attempt at the final Brutal Challenge. As I've been saying all along, I've tried my best not to get too stubborn with this and just like bash my head against it and grind through over and over and over again. So I think I'd had like 1 or 2 attempts, I think maybe 2 attempts, something like that, 3 tops, and I was already like, okay, that's it for now. We are not spending the next 10-15 hours trying to figure this out. Let's move on to something that we might actually be able to potentially do. So during this whole process, I've been chatting to people obviously, and I have heard that the legendary fights, even though they're after the brutal fights, in terms of like the menu structure, they're actually, potentially some of them are easier than the brutals. And I thought there's 2 benefits here. One, I'd be able to actually continue my progress, stop getting frustrated. The individual fights might be more enjoyable too, which is another kind of mini bonus here. And 2, they also offer manuscripts if you can win. And so I thought to myself, one of the things I'm lacking here is the fact that because I haven't done any New Game Plus, any hard mode stuff, done any like completionist minigame stuff, etc., I'm still a little bit lacking when it comes to basically materia slots for weapons and the strength of my weapons. And so I thought that's the reason why it might be a good idea to try these legendary ones as well. See how many of those I can do before I get stuck on something. And then once I'm stuck, then we can go back to the brutals, hopefully a little bit stronger, a little bit more experience, and then I'll be able to hopefully finish things off there. So I decided to basically prioritize the characters that I've been using the most in my team runs for the individuals first. And by that logic, I thought Yuffie is the best place to start because she's the one I have the most solo experience with. I've tried to include her in every team I can. For me at least, and my playstyle and my skill level, she is the one that I feel the most confident with because I can keep my range, I can dodge things a bit more effectively. If I feel like I'm unable to dodge something and I have the ATB for Brumal form, I can use Brumal form. We've got the doppelganger stuff. Like, there's just so many benefits to using Yuffie that pretty much whatever I did, I was quite sure that I would probably keep Yuffie for the brutal challenge. And so I started off with Yuffie in my first solo. So what I'm going to do in the name of moving things along, I'm not going to show like too much in terms of the setup here because once again, at this stage, I'm continuing to just kind of make it up as I go along. I'm not looking up guides, I'm not looking up videos and, you know, what's the best material loadouts and the best ways to beat things. I'm continuing just to play it the only way I know how. And for that reason, this is probably not going to be optimal. What you're watching for these legendaries, I am going to defeat them, the individual ones at least for this segment. But if anything from what you see helps you, that's great. But I strongly recommend, in general, for the brutal and for the legendary challenges, if you're struggling on something and you're failing multiple times on like later rounds, just avoid the frustration. Don't make yourself hate the game. Just look up guides. There are people out there who've poured more time into this than you have, or are just simply more skilled than we are. And so let's look to these guys to help us out and get us through these challenges if we need to. I think there's no shame in it. For this particular structure of challenge where each attempt costs you a huge amount of time. So, the first round is a mob here, and I think what they've tried to do here is obviously like overwhelm you with like multiple enemies attacking you. And even a basic spin swipe is doing 1,200 damage, so you can't get hit very often. Now, what I decided to do on my first attempt here is to basically kind of use Windstorm once I was ready. I thought Doppelganger plus Windstorm would probably be a good way to take out this this mob of enemies. But as you can see, if you let them kind of overwhelm you, then you might be in trouble. So in terms of structure for these ones, as always, I'm going to show you guys like my first attempts on all of these. And wherever I get stuck or I fail an attempt, then we're going to continue the next one from that same round so you can see how I got through. As you can see, Windstorm is working pretty nicely here. It's kind of like interrupting them, it's slowing them down, it's clumping them together, it's doing damage. So there's a lot of things working for me. Now one of them got away. Wanted to make sure I healed. And it was interesting to kind of see that the other prey did like 550 health heal. I really don't know how they scale the doppelganger for everything that you do, but it was interesting. At least you get an extra 550 when you use it. So bad. I should have used Chakra instead. Most likely it probably works better. But Prey is a bit of a a habit at this stage. I've used it obviously so often. And now we face the Joker. If there's, in general, I'm not a fan of how they're structured things. I've talked about that at length at this point. But if there's one good thing, it's that you get a lot of practice against enemies because they're repeated so many times in the extra content of this game. It's insane. And so at this stage, we've already fought Joker a lot of times. This is one where I'm probably a bit more likely to just skip through this fight because you get the point. It's weak to wind, so in general it's just me keeping my distance, trying to not get hit by Soul Sucker, and obviously wind ninjutsu to wear it down, put a bio on it if I can, and anytime I get like a limit break or anything like that, then obviously I'm gonna unload it. So that's the general idea. It's not too bad. I think the one thing I have to be careful of is obviously the Joker move. Spades is not a problem because I have elemental fire. That's one of the protections I do have for this particular solo effort. And yeah, if Joker comes and I feel like I can't dodge it, that's where I try to make sure I keep some ATB and just use Brumal Form when the like projectile thing comes near me. And as long as you do those things, then Joker should be relatively easy. And again, this is all just for this type of playstyle. If you've got a much more, you know exactly what you need to do to blast through these enemies in 20 seconds, then that's fantastic. But if you're playing, if your gaming looks a little bit more like me when you're playing Rebirth, the stuff I'm saying here will hopefully be at least a little bit helpful. If you're not looking to kind of completely change your style or look up like a really, efficient and high-level guide on how to do these guys quickly. Gonna skip this one ahead here to when we get the first stagger. Already, I forgot to put Wind Ninjutsu here, that was a mistake. But basically, once the stagger comes in, we've still got Doppelganger in effect. And I'm just using, obviously, my big moves here. But one thing I'm trying to use more at this late stage of the game is obviously the special abilities like Banishment and Purification. So these are more powerful moves than I've realized earlier on. There you go, 5,700 damage. And the Doppelganger's one throws in like an extra 1,000. So yeah, obviously those are moves that you have to try to not ignore if you want to do more damage. But yeah, now I finally remember to put the Wind Ninjutsu on. And this will help you do obviously more damage. But now obviously Joker's going to come in a bit more. Let's watch this. It's coming towards me. Brumal Form. And I avoid it. Now, I don't think you need to Brumal Form there. You can like just dodge it by normal means. But hey, it's there. I have the ATB for it. Why don't I use it? Now, this was a bit silly. Clubs came in, and I kind of tanked it. I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't very smart. Joker gets spammed a lot in this form, so we really have to be careful. But you can see Brumal Form is just such a broken move once you really start to use it. And we get a nice heal plus stagger here, and this fight is over. So this Aeolian Banishment is weak, but still, hey, 2,000 is okay, I guess. But I think Art of War does more damage there. So if you're on a low-level Banishment, it doesn't seem worth it. You might as well just use an Art of War. So that's 2 rounds, and already it's looking a lot more forgiving. And it's only 5 rounds compared to the 10 of the Brutal Challenges, so that's already a big benefit as well. Now, this enemy is another one where if you have the right material loadout, you can obviously make your life a lot easier. Now, you could say that for literally every single fight, but for this one at least, once you fight this guy 1 time or twice or 3 times, you're going to eventually figure out that he uses Fire Archer. That's basically the only elemental spell that he uses. And so you're spotting a theme here. If there's one element that's worth absorbing in this legendary challenge, it's fire. And so another one here that's going to help you a lot in this fight if you're struggling a little bit, because it's going to periodically heal you for 2,000 or 3,000 health, which is definitely nice. In general, this one is not too bad. There was only one attack that I had a problem with. I think I've died a few times too. And that's the, there's like an execution or something attack that it does once it starts to basically replicate itself and stuff. That one is generally easy to dodge if you're actually looking out for it and you see it coming. I think as long as you're not next to it, I think you should be fine. But I think once or twice during my whole like brutal slash legendary runs, I got caught out by that move. And if you don't have instant death protection, then it's gonna cause you a problem. So it managed to evade my banishment there, which is a little bit annoying. But yeah, Toxic Mire, as long as you're just rolling it, it's an AoE move, but it's so slow that you're not going to get hit by it once you see that you can dodge it a couple of times. So this is the phase where the fight can get more difficult, and if you're not absorbing fire, it can also get a bit more challenging if you're generally struggling here. But for me at least, I don't have to worry about blocking any fire arcers or anything like that. So there it comes again. The only thing is, if this one drags on too long, you're going to start to, like, they're going to keep multiplying, and they also keep dodging like these moves by just phasing in and out, and I can't tell when it's going to do it. So it's a little bit unfair, I think, but we're almost at a stagger. There you go. I decided to Windstorm here since they're both close to each other, but I'm not sure how effective that was. I thought I'd do something a little different because I always spam Art of War usually. But you can see the damage takes a while here. Like I'm not super strong, and I attacked the wrong one. There you go. You can see Execution appears here. Just get away from it. It does like a kind of a flop down. You see that? It's a weird, like, I don't even know how that move hits. I think if you're like next to it when it happens, then you get insta-death. But I think as long as you're like a bit further away, you should be fine. And stagger comes again. Almost have a limit break, but not quite this time.
You're gonna get what's coming to you.
My doppelganger ran out, which is a bit annoying here. Would have been nice to have it, but
And one to grow on.
as you can see, so far still pretty pedestrian though. And by this stage, obviously you've been fighting so much, and it is the same enemies over and over and over again. So you should hopefully be generally just getting better anyway. But still not quite enough. I'm still not a high enough level player where I can truly make the best of the stagger situation. Like once you get really good at this game and you really learn all of the best strategies and optimizations to do damage as quickly as possible and in the best way, then let's just say, I don't know, you can do double the damage I was doing or triple the damage that I was doing for a given stagger. Now that was dangerous, but I decided to just start going for it here. Don't want this to drag out too long. Even if it's going okay, like, you can get yourself in trouble if you take too long. And there's another one that's popped out now. So this already took longer than I would have liked. It's already too many at this stage. But thankfully they keep healing me, so imagine you were taking damage from these fire archers, then you'd be really struggling here. But I've taken too long here, so this is already a bad run. So this is an example of a fight that dragged on too long. And now I remember, I was thinking about how this particular run went. This was the one where I made a mistake with Execution. So watch what happens now. She just suddenly dies. So I was near that enemy, Execution popped up, and even though it didn't flop down yet, I kind of just insta-died. And so that really pissed me off. And so what I did this time around was give myself instant death protection, because I forgot that that move was going to come up. And in general, because I'd dodged it so many times, like I'd not had a problem with Execution, other than when I was right next to the enemy. I thought to myself, like, surely it should be fine. But it was a mistake. So another, I think, tip for this one, if you're not a hugely skilled player like myself, then get yourself a Karmic Count, because it will save you from a death like the one you just saw. So let's move forward to the end of this fight once again. So this time, things went a little bit better, since I didn't have to deal with the stupid Execution now. So not only is Fire Arga fine, so is the Execution move, so you really have no excuses to be losing at this stage. So this time we will win. Yeah, we got the full setup. I mean, we've got Bravery, we've got Faith, we've got Doppelganger, we've got the Ice Ninjutsu. So we've got a lot of things working here for us. And we almost have another stagger coming. Yeah, we got the Plasma as well. We did get insnared. I'm just going a bit hard here because this is attempt number 2. And I know I can beat this guy. I'm not being very defensive here. And well, I know it's going to heal me anyway. So Blizzara first, and then I'm going to end things with a limit.
I hope you wore layers.
I think because the Blizzarga's hitting quad 9 anyway, I wanted to do double Blizzara potentially instead.
Time to crack some skulls.
So you saw the banishment there, how much damage it did. So even if it's like a mid-tier banishment, it still tends to do pretty well. That's definitely worth using. So there you go. Second time round definitely was fine. Yeah, don't want to have to deal with execution if you can avoid it. Okay, so this guy, again, lots of fire. So this is the only thing that's tricky about this one is that most of his attacks are fire, but sometimes it can get into a little bit of a loop where it uses a lot of just pure physical moves. And so if you're being lazy and you get lulled into a false sense of security thinking, ha, like most of this guy's moves just heal me anyway, I don't really need to work very hard here. He can hit you with, say, like 4 or 5, 6, just like back-to-back, like bounding around and swiping and all that stuff. And if you're being very lazy and you're playing badly, and he hits you with those, you can get yourself killed. So I would say it's like 80-90% you should be able to beat this guy, even if you're not playing very well. But if you're a little bit unlucky with RNG, you can get yourself into trouble if you're being very bad with your blocking and evasion. But in general, like, this has got to be one of the easiest ones, I think, of the entire set. And well, we're already at number 4. This is why the legendary ones already, it's so much easier. You don't have to think about your teammates. You just do like what you consider to be the best setup for one person, and it's 5 rounds. And so even if you die on round like 3 or 4, it's taken maybe like 10 minutes, 12 minutes tops, and you can go at it again. So I was definitely enjoying the legendaries a lot more. But there you go, did a quad 9 damage and a 1,500 on top because of the doppelganger. So just really good damage. And obviously I'm doing my best to save my MP for the final round. Because I'm getting healed by so many of the encounters, I've not had to bother too much really. But I throw in a Prey just to get some extra healing here.
Might as well.
But you can see each of those jumps and swipes is anywhere from like 1,100 to 1,600 damage to me. So there you go. So that was like 2,200 damage in no time. So that's the only risk really. But it is low risk, definitely. So we're nearly there. Obviously doppelganger bio, you're seeing any enemy that's susceptible to it. I'm trying my best to just utilize that. Because Venom does do a lot of nice work. Can make the difference. And there we go. Not bad at all. Who do we have for the final round? The answer is this guy. Now this is a problem. Everything was going very well, but this guy is completely like a race against time. Swan Song begins, and immediately I was like, oh shit. What element was this guy weak to? What do we do for Swan Song? It had been a little while since we fought a King Zhu. So at this stage I was a little bit stuck. I remembered obviously I need to destroy the wings to stop Swan Song from hitting, but this move is incredibly cheap. Like if you cannot stop those wings in time, you're finished. And so obviously I got the doppelganger out and I needed to use a ninjutsu. And I was like, wait a minute, which element is this guy weak to? Surely ice, right? This looks like a fiery guy. It's using fire elemental that heals me. So clearly that must be the right thing to do, right? But I don't have the assess data. So yeah. I think anything you've already beaten as part of the story, they should just give you the assess data. I've already beaten this guy before, but unfortunately they don't. And so basically I looked it up at this point to see what it was weak to and stuff. I realized I had made a mistake. It is weak to lightning. And so I switched over to lightning, and now you're seeing a lot more damage to the wing, but you do not get a lot of time. And that, again, was really annoying. If you don't know that that's coming, and you don't know exactly what element to use and how to kill those wings quickly, you are going to be in trouble. But thankfully, as I've been saying, it's like 10 to 12 minutes tops to get to that stage, even with my like suboptimal, not very good playstyle. So let's head straight back to that final round and see how I got through. And so this was the very next attempt. Obviously, you've got to move fast here. If you have things like First Strike, then obviously that's going to be very helpful for you. We need to take those wings out ASAP. Now, I don't have first strike here. I probably should have put it on to make it even more likely that I'll win. But I thought since I know that it's weak to lightning now, I should have a better chance. And so what I'm going to do here is get my lightning ninjutsu and just see if one Yuffie is enough to get started here. Then doppelganger once I have the ATB. So I went for the kind of lightning first and then doppelganger. Not sure if that was the best way. But you can still see it's taking a bit too long here. We took out one of the wings, but we barely have enough time here. And even if one wing is there, if you get hit by... Like, if you run out of time here, it's really cheap. It's really cheap. Like, with one wing, it should do less damage. It really should do less damage with one wing. Should be quad 9 for 2, because if you're too slow to even take out a single wing, you deserve to be punished. If it's 1, it should be like 4999, and so on. But again, whatever I did there was not quick enough, and so I died again. I needed a better strategy for the start. So here's the third attempt against the King Zoo. Let's see what I end up doing. Here we go again. Again, I don't have the first strike materia. I guess I was stubborn on that, or I had a particularly, like, in my mind at least, tuned up setup. So straight into lightning ninjutsu again. So we're doing this now. The first one's gone. Now, let's see what's going to happen. I'm struggling to decide here. I guess I didn't have much of a game plan for the second one. So no doppelganger, because the doppelganger animation does take quite a long time. So I gave myself the sonic boom instead, and I went straight for the wing. Let's see. I've got ATB. Is it enough? It's just about enough. So still not optimal, I think. I'd probably have a first strike materia doing this in hindsight. And honestly, I probably would have just put a lightning materia just so I can Thundara. Even a Thundara is probably enough to take out a wing. And as you can see, you basically don't use MP here. But whatever the case, as long as you get the job done, you should be fine. The next time he tries to use it, I'll likely have Doppelganger already, and I'll already have Lightning Ninjutsu. So this time I'll be able to do things much more quickly. I'll have a Thunderous Banishment if I need it. I'll have Plasma Discharge. So it's really only that first initial Swan Song that you have to watch out for. And after that one, you should be relatively okay. So look at how spammy it is. It's barely been like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and it's at it again. And here we go, left wing. A little bit slow here. I wasn't sure if I had enough time. And that's why I used the Thunderous Banishment, just to be sure. And there we go. So as I say, by the time Swan Song happens again, you've got enough in the tank to prepare for it, and you should be okay. Now I'm going to try and see if I can stagger it before the next Swan Song, and then once it's staggered, I would like to hopefully kill it before the stagger ends. But we'll see how it goes. Without using like big magic, it just takes a lot of time to build the gauge. I'm just not very good at doing it, and so yes, one more Swan Song, unfortunately. I decided to go for Art of War here. I've got a Supreme one anyway, and it's staggered immediately this time. So I guess every time you kill a wing, it increases the stagger gauge anyway, so I managed to stagger it before the second wing was even necessary, it seems. So yeah, as long as you can deal with Swan Song, and especially I had the fire elemental again, it made this one a lot easier. So once I managed to do enough damage for that one, it was pretty much a formality. So we're almost there for our first legendary victory. And yes, it did take me, I think, 4 attempts total, but still it really wasn't that bad. And I'd say, well, 2 of the attempts being thrown away because I couldn't do enough damage for Swan Song was a little bit silly. And well, the execution death was a little bit silly too. So I would still put this as basically being easier than almost any of the brutal challenges that I faced. So, yeah, finally got the ball rolling, and we got Secrets of the Ninja Volume 16 and 10 SP points. So, yeah, this was one of the reasons I did it. I thought maybe for some of the characters, not Yuffie, because she's already got 4 slots for her weapon, but at least for my other characters, hopefully I'd be able to push them through to the next level on their weapon. So from here, let's have a quick look at the weapon situation, and then it'll give you a better idea of what I still needed to do for this run. I still always come to Gongaga for some reason for this, but yeah, Yuffie is up to SP, like the maximum amount of SP is 350, she's on weapon level 8, and as I said before, she's the only one that's on level 8. And when you reach level 8, that means that you're able to have 4 slots for your weapons, which is really nice. And so for her, like the extra SP that I got wasn't really enough to do much, but at least if there comes a time when I need to kind of reassign some of this stuff, I've got more SP points to play with. So let's say I don't need Kate Sith, or there's like a particular collaborative synergy move that I don't want, I can just remove the SP points from that and switch it to something else. And so in general, the goal was to get everyone to at least level 8, because those extra abilities can definitely be quite helpful. I mean, we've got things like, you know, ATB charge rate can go up, attack power can go up, for some of them defensive power can go up, and of course we can bolster our unique abilities as well. And so it seemed to me like it was a good idea. And even though I cashed in everything that I had at this point, there was a little bit more that I needed to do to try and push them up to level 8. Now, the first thing of these was to actually buy a few manuscripts that I was missing. In Gold Saucer, specifically, if you go to like the token exchange shop, you can actually buy some manuscripts for your characters. So I had a look at my inventory, and I was looking at, for example, the Art of Swordplay for Cloud, and he was missing number 3, and so I had a look to see where to find it, and you have to go and buy it from Gold Saucer. So I'm not going to show you guys any like big details from this, but I'll talk you guys through what I did to find some more manuscripts and increase my weapon level to 8 for everybody. So the first part was to basically buy any of these that was missing from Gold Saucer. The second part of it is to actually do some more optional fights. Now, one thing that I tried to ignore was Battle Square, because I've said it a few times, there's a few cool things that happen in Battle Square, and the way that they used it in the story I thought was nice. But when it comes to kind of the actual implementation of Battle Square as like a feature of the game, like a side material thing, I was never very happy with it, and I really liked the OG's kind of slot randomizer style. But for this one, it's just another bunch of bouts that you have to do against basically the same kind of enemies again and again and again and again. And there's a lot of them. And so I thought, I'm not doing this. I just want to do the Chadley, Brutal, and Legendary challenges and call it a day, and basically not play Rebirth again other than playing through the story in the future. Like, that was my whole strategy. Then I figured out that there are some, well, there's 1 or 2 good things hidden behind it anyway, like the Spectral Cogwheel. Anything that can help my limit gauge to go up I thought might be useful. So I wanted a couple of the things in the Musclehead Coliseum, but I also wanted the extra manuscripts. So you can get things like the Art of Swordplay Volume 5 by completing a Musclehead Coliseum quest. So what followed here was about an hour of me rattling through all of the Musclehead Coliseum ones. Now, because I'm at level 70, and I've been doing literally brutal level, legendary level challenges, this stuff was generally a breeze. I don't think I died a single time against anything, so I'm not gonna bore you guys by showing you every single fight, because it was quite literally, it felt like 8 to 10 enemies recycled 50 times across the fights. Like, it was just constantly the Malbro, the Jabberwocky, the Mind Flayer, the Quetzalcoatl thing. It was just the same enemies over and over and over and over. Not the most fun thing I've done in this game, and so we're generally going to skip through, and I'll show you what happened to my weapon levels and stuff by the end of this phase of the post-game. Originally, my plan was to basically only do it for the characters that I knew I'd be using, but then I thought for the legendary solo fights, you literally have to use all of them, including Kate Sith. So I thought, okay, fine, let's make sure we get all of the manuscripts that we can get without having to do anything further. So basically, it was a combination of a lot of Musclehead Coliseum stuff, buying the manuscripts that you can buy from Gold Saucer, by trading in GP. And the third thing was to just complete the whole, the place in the Dust Bowl, like in Corel Prison, where you have to do like the bouts against the beast and stuff. If you complete those, or like a specific one of those, it gives you a manuscript for Tifa as well. And by the end of that whole thing, I think it was probably about an hour and a half I spent on all of this. It was relatively easy, but it was just a lot of repetitive kind of things I had to do over and over. I basically got everybody, except Kate Sith at the moment, to weapon level 8. I decided to leave Kate for the end, but for now I definitely had enough to go on for the rest of my characters. For anybody wondering, how do you get to an even higher weapon level? Because clearly, even at weapon level 8, there's still more in the tank, and there's a lot more manuscripts to be obtained. The answer is, of course, by doing a New Game Plus, and that takes me to like my general advice, having got as far as I've gone in these particular challenges. If you want to do the brutal and the legendary challenges, I think it is the best idea to genuinely play through the game as much as you want, and if, like me, let's say, you are genuinely solely focused on just doing the boss fights, you don't care about high ranking every minigame, you don't care about New Game Plus, you just want to beat these guys, then sure, you can do it a bit more like what I'm doing. But if you want to do these fights en route to trying to get a Platinum Trophy, then I think the best way to do it is to complete the game and then do a New Game Plus hard mode run, because your party level is going to go up to level 10, which is going to give you all of the potential options that you can get for the skill cores. Also, you're going to pick up more of the manuscripts as you go as well, so you can push your weapon level higher than level 8 as well. So that's the path I would follow. I would complete the story, do what you want to do, then restart the game in New Game Plus, go through basically the whole story, play it again in hard mode, pick up those extra stats, get a higher party level, get a higher weapon level, do all of the side quests that you'd missed out on, get all of those high ranks, so that by the time you get to the end of your New Game Plus run, you will be able to, for example, have enough of a transmutation level to get the Genji stuff, because a lot of the best strategies for the hardest fights will benefit from having the Genji glove, which can break the quad 9 damage limit. And so when you put all of this together, because these challenges are so difficult, and the punishment for them is wasting so much of your time, if your intention is to get a platinum anyway, I would not waste my time making these fights any more difficult for you than they need to be. Because my goal is different, I'm doing it differently, but for people on the road to that platinum, that's the roadmap that I would personally present to you guys for doing this stuff. And so that will give you, even if it improves your chances by 10%, by 15%, by having those extra weapon levels and party level, and like having, I don't know, the enhanced version of the Karmic Cowl instead of the regular one, having the Genji equipment, that kind of thing. I think, you know, if you even make it 10 to 20% easier, that's a massive benefit when you're facing off against such difficult enemies that could take you up to an hour to complete a particular challenge, and if you fail 50 minutes in, you have to do it all over again. So that's my general advice, having done all of this stuff up until this point. But for me, because I am a fool and I do things my way, I decided to continue going. Weapon level 8. Let's go back to the solo challenges and see how we're going to do.